The dudes don't even like to call them thugs when they even put the stuff out. So where does a white person get called thug? Where they like that?
You never. Have you seen social media?
I see it every day.
So for thug realness, we looking for white boys to come and give us trailer park.
Look, what the boy name was Slim Thug?
Eminem, basically. They have to give like Eminem.
They were thugs.
That's like a
right. Hold on, look. Tyson said something in the comments, and it's kind of funny, but let's really examine it though. Trump is called a thug, but if we had thug realness and somebody just walked up looking like Donald Trump, we're going to chop them.
You're getting a chop for sure. Yeah,
nobody
I would take Eminem.
Right, but that's what a white thug looks like.
Boy first, as a realness, like that was the only
Slim Thug, and his name is. What was the white boy name that used to rap?
Slim Shady. Where's the white pretty boy? I ain't never seen one.
Not him.
Where the white pretty boy? Nikki. Hold on, Nikki.
Don't you do that.
Nikki, my co-partner here in the pretty boy rim. Where the white pretty boy? Where the white pretty boy?
I think the only white pretty boy I've seen was a trans man. And that was it. That was the only white one I've seen. But he's a trans man.
It's not giving.
Well, guess what? We might not call them pretty boys because you think about the remember they're metrosexual. Remember you know what I'm saying? Like I think Paul Wall was his name. Y'all would have to give me more like Baywatch tees if y'all want to say pretty boys for the white people. You gonna have to give me something like
a Zach Moore.
Yeah, I would say that Paul Wall was a thug.
Or a thug, not a thug. We talking about?
He give you the whole. Yeah, but like Zach Morris is what I would consider a pretty boy for remember on Saved by the Bell, the guy Zach Morris.
Very pretty.
Yeah.
See, like, not to take it off realness, but for me, this is gonna sound bad. Oh my God. Anything that's presentation based in ballroom or about what you can bring in terms of that should not have white people really walking it. Only because the archetype, the standard. The standard was based off of. Hold on, I can respond. Hold on, let me respond. The standard of those presentations was based off of a response to whiteness. So they walk in with that advantage. Now, for me, a space where they may have access to is like performance or runway, because those are performance-based categories where you have to learn an art form. But when it comes to face, if we are basing face off of milky skin and Eurocentric line noses and certain jaw structures and stuff like that. We just really got to where we're celebrating black faces. They, by default, already have the things we're looking for.
But then perhaps
that could be the same thing saying for light-skinned people.
No, but light skinned people are still black. Right, so that's why we separate out so that we can say, okay, we understand that we have colorism as a problem. So instead of y'all voting for me innately over Rico because of the colorism issue, we say we recognize that those are both black bodies, they're both oppressed, but we want to separate them out so that we can judge them fairly based off what we know our own preconceived notions of blackness lead us down. But when you have a white person standing next to either one of us, they are by default white, and they are born with the characteristics that we are already y'all are judging them based off them, and y'all are judging us based off them. How is that fair? You're judging our face based off do we show up looking like them, and you're judging them based off do they show up looking like them.
But the girls keep trying to open up the back door.
So can white people walk fashion since they already got the coin, and we got a work slave craft, do all kind of stuff.
Yeah, get them out of here. Get them out.
Bad dress.
I mean, so as a fashion walker, I think that I don't have an issue with them walking fashion because, again, it's not judged off of a presentation of who they are, their aesthetics. You still have to have the money, the wherewithal to go get it. Now, whether or not we should be wearing more black designers in ballroom and stuff like that, that's definitely something we can address. We do have a very slanted view of what's deemed fashionable based off what white people tell us is fashion or a white fashion brand when there are a lot of black designers, both high-end and low-end, that could be showing up in ballroom. That's a separate conversation. But again, for me, anything that's presentation based, such as looking magazine models' face, realness, those things are based off of Eurocentric standards or stereotypes that were created for us by them. So to judge us against their rubric is problematic for me.
So Gunner, so you just think every white trans woman is just automatically real? Everyone.
I don't think that every white trans woman is automatically real, but I don't think that but again, the art of blend, the art of being unnoticed, even transitioning, right? White people physiologically tend to be softer. So if they do more, like even when we see them, or when we see people who are, hold on, even think about this in ballroom. If we can keep it a buck on this panel. When people belong to other ethnicities, like if you're Asian, when we look at Asian boys and girls, they kind of already look very kind of similar. So their transition process to go to the other gender is going to be more similar. In the genome pool of blackness, black men and black women show up for the most time, or black cis men and black cis women, right? Before transition, we show up typically very physiologically different. Whereas in other races, because of the way the genes have worked over time, the genders look even more close. Like you can see white brothers and sisters that have almost the same jawlines and everything. And it's given, girl, just put a wig on the brother and she's basically the sister. But in black genes, it is typically the body structures and the face structures and stuff are much more drastic. So the transition does, in my opinion, take a lot more work for a black person to transition from one gender to the other. And a lot of other, I see it all the time in ballroom with other races and stuff like that. It's like, girl, you're a little Asian boy, put a wig on it, now it's an Asian girl.
We having this conversation, but a lot of y'all allow them in your houses, though, for these categories.
But that's a whole nother conversation. Because you're going to get me kicked out of my own house.
That's another conversation.
Hold on. So what I'm hearing, right? Because we clearly have figured out the problem, right? But now we have a space that we say is inclusive to the community, right? So rather than to fix the problem, which is
what community? Ballroom. What community? Wait, what community?
I'm talking about ballroom as a whole. No, ballroom is allowed because if you are, I'm about to answer your question, Lawrence. If you are a ballroom leader or you are someone in the house that allows white people into your house, but you have this mindset, there is some level of inclusivity that you are allowing into ballroom spaces. So rather than to change the mindset of us trying to adapt to Eurocentric standards, you now want to say, well, we don't want white people because we're already trying to like live up to their expectations. But instead of celebrating blackness and rewriting the categories to make sure they celebrate blackness, we're going to just push white people out because we don't want to change what's already the fucking problem. There's no reason. You see this across the categories, especially in face. The fact that people with big noses, that is African features. Hold on. That's African features that should be celebrated, but we don't celebrate it because we're too busy trying to celebrate something that's not our own. Then we complain about those same people that we put on a pedestal to try to be like coming into our space. That makes no sense. Change the standards.
So you bring up a good point, right? I want to say, to me, it's kind of like a baby in bathwater conversation. As we have the conversations, we throw some of it out. We don't throw all of it out because you ain't got to throw the baby out with the bathwater. But to your point about changing it, I want to bring up what just happened in VA. For the $1,500 face, when I helped them write that category, I specifically said we want to see Afrocentric faces, we want to see original noses, we want to see teeth as they are, we want to see black skin. So there is a way for us to do it. I think oftentimes we have these conversations because we get so passionate about it. It's almost like, well, you got a solution right now? If you don't, bitch, let's stop talking about it. And that's not the way progress works. It's gonna have to be
piecemeal. That's not my mindset. I'm just saying, yeah. It
happens. Hold on, let me finish. So as black people, as we have you look at black community, as we have collectively learned to unpack our own anti-blackness, the journey we are on as black people, independent of ballroom, has been a journey of unlearning colorism, unlearning anti-blackness, unlearning all these things about ourselves that we were told we were supposed to. How many of us were around in the 90s when we really used to use terms like good hair and bad hair? We are now at a place where it's like, no, bitch, I have 4C hair. I have 1C hair. I don't have bad hair, right? But it took us years to get there. It took us unpacking. Now we are held to the responsibility of making sure we bring those topics and have these conversations so we can figure out how to make that work in ballroom so that we can be more pro-black and brown in ballroom. Me personally, yes, I'll just speak candidly, and it'll do what it do. We have a European chapter. We have white people in the house, but even with our own white people, we have very strong conversations about what Blackness is for ballroom, and we have a conversation with them, and they understand they are guests in our space. That's the thing that I don't think happens in a lot of houses. If we are going to be inclusive, when you invite an outsider into your house, you let them know you do not have keys here. You do not lock up after everyone leaves. Do not move no mat on my table. You sit down, we serve you, you eat. You don't make no suggestions for the food. You enjoy being a guest here. And those are the conversations that we're not having. We allow people that are not Black and brown into our space, and then we allow them to have voice in our space. For me, that's where the issue really comes in.
So, Gunnar, can I ask you a question, Gunnar? Because we have our Caucasian people in our house that walked a particular category a while back, and the overseas people took offense to them walking a category that was not appropriated for them. Do y'all have that problem as well in your house when it comes to those type of things as well?
No, we have conversations. Like I don't like from my T-sheets overseas. If in France next year they had a bring it like the motherland, we are not sending our white members out there draped in dashikis and kente cloth. You are not about to appropriate our culture. The category, while you may walk what the category is, the category tonight is not written for you.
So you agree with the overseas member? We should not have let our white members walk those categories.
Yeah. Because,
if it's directly representing Black culture, why would you? That's just like what the big uproar about the cisgender women playing the trans women parts. If some things just are not made for everybody.
Right.
Yeah. So okay, I have a question just to that, right? So what if you have a South African chapter and it says bring it like the motherland? They're South African. Are they allowed to walk it?
Of course. They are South African in nationality. In ballroom, we say bring it like motherland. We are talking about we're talking about Black representation.
Okay.
We're not talking about you just happen to be born there.
But I'm asking for clarity. That's why I asked.
Yeah. So again, that's why context matters, right? When we as Black people talk about motherland, when we say someone's African, we know that technically any race can be born in Africa.
We're talking about
Black. We say African, and we're talking about Black people.
But see, I only asked that because here's another thing. When we talk about people walking categories that don't pertain to them, right? Another thing that we have issue is with promoters write these categories. They're not specific. That creates problems as well. That's why I asked for clarity when we're talking about, because if I was a white person and I'm from South Africa and you say bring it like the motherland, well, bitch, I was born in Africa. I'm South African. I'm not thinking the diaspora. I'm not thinking Black.
I think sometimes you got to use common sense as well. If I'm a white person, I'm just not going to come dressed in a dashiki and African attire. That's just not respectful. And it's not going to be perceived well. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
common sense is not common, right? But I'll say this, right? And it's not, and I don't want it to be like, when it comes to like misappropriation of culture and identity and certain things like that, it happens across the board, right? The flip side of it is we've had cities write categories, bring it like a slave. No, bitch, we're not doing that. We're not letting white people dress up like Black people of the diaspora, and we're not gonna let Black people dress up like our unalived ancestors. Like, we can have some guides and guidelines around what we allow and what's appropriate.
But then the guidelines have to be across the board, because we've also seen Black people bring it in Asian attire, kimonos. That's not your culture either. So that argument can go across the board.
Well, yeah.
You can't pick and choose.
No shade.
So this becomes a very, very deep conversation, right? No, it becomes a very deep conversation again, too, because when you talk about Blackness, Black people show up in every ethnicity. Black people show up in every nationality. Whiteness does not, right? So when you talk about Japanese culture, there are historically Black Japanese people.
Correct.
When you talk about bring it like Cinco de Mayo, there are Black Mexicans that are natively Black and Mexican at the same time. Right, so it really and a lot of times we want to keep ballroom very surface level and all of that, but when it starts getting into culture, ethnicity, nationality, diaspora, all of that, it does take a little bit deeper understanding of what it is. Because to bring it back up, a lot of times we hear this in ballroom. We'll have a motherfucking bitch because she's white Latin say nigga and be like, oh, but she's not white, she's Spanish. Yes, she's a white Spanish speaking Latin, but she's still white racially, right? So we have to understand race, ethnicity, and how that shows up. When Black people can be everything, right? And that's not to say that's not to just absolve us and say that we can just go around appropriating cultures that we don't necessarily belong to. But that's the thing. Across the diaspora, every culture that exists on planet Earth, Black people have been present in helping cultivate and create that culture. And that's just the reality of it.
No, you are correct. You are correct. But I'm just telling you how that is a slippery slope, and that is why I said it.
Yeah.
It becomes a very slippery slope.
And that's why it should be done. It should be done respectfully and tastefully, right? Like I wouldn't want to say. I would never send my kids out there with a red dot and a feather in their hat talking about, ooh, no, we're not about to do that, baby girl, not over here. We're not about to do that over here. That's
well,
crazy.
I think you need to deliver that message to other house leaders, because it has been times where, like in Chicago at a ball, they had as a house bring as a portrait picture of and a lot of people brought in like it was called Family Reunion. And the family portrait had to be in an Asian style. Like you said, they had komodos, the hairdos, and everything. Is that acceptable, or would that have been an issue if you was the
for me personally,
like, was that acceptable? Yeah.
I think it can be tastefully and respectfully done, because again, Black people, Black, Japanese, Black, Asian people exist. Not just like, oh, Black people have moved to Asia this month or last year. Since the origin of indigenous Asian people, Black people existed there. So it's not like they're doing something that we haven't already been a part of a process of. Now, if you go straight stereotype with it, then I personally would have a problem with it. And more than likely, y'all know me, I would have probably created a live about it and read the pictures for them. But so it really, when it comes to like, that's why I don't really like cultural appropriation categories in general, right? Because it does become too much of a slippery slope. Like, there's ways to be creative without saying, bring it like some Indians. Bring it like, bring it like survivors of apartheid. Like, why are we having categories like that? Like, that don't make no sense. Like, there's so many other things that we can do, right? So, like, when I think about, like, it's about bringing, like, professions. It's about bringing it, like, things that we've traditionally not had access to. We've had access to being Japanese. We've had access to these things, right? So it's a chance. Ballroom for me is a chance to cosplay things we've not had access to.
No shade. I think it's the way of being creative and just express yourself. Yeah, I feel the same way.
Well, can we make realness category creative then?
Did not go left.
I think we have people capable of having intellectual conversations.
What?
So
I said, well, can we make realness categories creative? Because
I think realness has gotten really creative in the past couple of years since
Me too.
quite a few of us and realness people were very critical of it. I consider myself the mother of the realness kids. And so I was very critical for years. Rico was one of them. Other realness walkers have been very critical and demanded that they get to have fun in their categories as well. And we've been seeing that happen over the last couple of years. I've actually been quite pleased with where realness has kind of taken in the last couple of years. Personally, as the mother of the realness, as a mother of like 10 realness legends and icons, with a team realness trophy myself.
You want to touch this hair my head so good. Mistake.
Now, that's a good point, Mother Jergen, and I've always argued with that. I do think that we've done something. Go ahead, sis.
No, I just want to say, as a femme queen, I appreciate you and your stuff, baby. But I was just gagging at somebody took Mother Jergens and made a profile out of it already.
Oh yeah, that's what
y'all just read that.
To.
Wait, and I'm following them. Wait, what the hell? They following me too? Who's this?
Yeah, wait a minute.
I have been an advocate.
Right, we know this person.
Yeah, he know all of us.
I have been an advocate for more like femme queen spaces, female figure spaces. Sister, you ordering food? Mute yourself. Why? You do not want me hearing you ordering Chick-fil-A. They are homophobic.
I don't eat them on a regular basis.
My thing with the film queen category is
I don't have a problem with putting their food on my table for free.
Wait, did Norman ever get to ask his question?
No, I don't think so. Go ahead, Norman. We're sorry. It'd be the passion.
Norman
still here?
Oh, but hold on, like the film queens, when people be saying like executive and this, that, and the third, they be calling. Sometimes when I see balls and they have that, and then dead ass no film queens walk.
I mean, but at the time, hold on, Rico, because I was going to walk this past in MLK weekend, but I had just started back in school. That's the only reason I didn't come to Atlanta. But I was seriously.
I do want to say though,
but hold on. Yeah, but the category got counted down. So who's you gonna bet? That's what I'm saying. Like it's not like
Rico though. I think we have to be a little. I think we have to be a little bit more
before y'all get to that, because Norman literally just jumped boxes to unmute himself.
Oh, I know that was Norman.
Unmute yourself.
Yeah, y'all can go ahead. I'm just listening.
Now you ain't got no question, boy.
I forgot the question was like 5 or 10 minutes ago.
Ask your question.
I forgot the question was like 5 or 10 minutes ago.
Oh shit. See. What I was gonna say with that though, Rico, I agree that we have these categories, but I think it's a little impatient, a little disingenuous, and also a little self-fulfilling when we say, "See, I had a category, no one showed up." We have to keep having it so that they know, because no one wants to show up for a new category they've been asking for to walk one time and then never see it again. They want to know that they feel seen and valid, and that we're going to continue to have it. And it's like, oh, bitch, they really do want us to walk, versus it being like a placate thing. They don't want to feel placated, and we just have a category one time when they don't show up. We say, see, we're not going to have it no more. If we really want to give them space, continuing to offer the space and count it down, and over time they would show up. I say that as some, and those of us who have been around enough, I remember when like trans men used to argue for category because we used to only really have butch or those categories, and we had them 1 or 2 times they didn't show up. But then once we started having them regularly, bitch, the trans men started showing up for everything, and I'm like, oh, okay. So I think the same thing has to happen because we pushed them down so much that we have to continue to show them that the space wants them there, and then they'll show up. Y'all don't get all silent because y'all know I keep talking, then they'll say I talk too much.
No, I'm probably say I can agree with you on that.
No, you speaking everything right. You speaking good, yeah.
It's all Lauren's fault coming up here, and I knew he was gonna bring that topic up.
I know.
He said he was gonna bust the dough down. He said he was gonna bust the dough down.
Lauren's a troublemaker, y'all.
Yo, Lawrence be saying what needs to be said though.
No, I just
I do. We have to hold on, y'all. We have to understand that we are in a very unique space, right? Where in ballroom, just like when I tell people about judging, when you sit 9, 11, 13, 17, 29 people down, they're gonna have different interpretations of what these categories are calling for, what they're looking for, what they think. And it's the same way with how we think about ballroom as a whole and different. Nobody's going to just automatically think one way is the best way or one thing is the best way. Just like I got attacked because during realness, definitely film queen realness, I like film queens to talk shit. I like it to be entertaining. I like the boastfulness of the competition of reading the bitch, talking a little shit, getting the girls, getting the people excited. And other people are like, well, oh no, that's just not systemic. You shouldn't be degrading each other. So we all just think things different. There's no one right way or wrong way to look at it. Me and Lawrence have had the conversation on a panel before, like a few weeks ago, about whites in ballroom. And so I think different. But that doesn't mean that nobody's point of view is not kind of like, I guess, heard. But one thing that we try to do a lot in ballroom is try to right every wrong. And we just not going to be able to do that.
Right. I think that these conversations are healthy, guys. Like, and let's be clear, we have these conversations in smaller places, like in our girlfriend circles, in our gossip groups. So I think to have this conversation in front of 600 people at one time, it's kind of healthy because people can feel like, well, maybe I'm not the only person that feels like that. There are other people that feel like that. So my feelings are valid. Like the way I think is, I mean, you just when you hear other people, when you express yourself and you hear other people's viewpoints, then you kind of like, okay, you know what, I get it, I understand that, da 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 da. You know, it brings a little clarity, I guess you can say, to certain topics and conversations, and so that it may make people have more conversations on these topics.
Yeah.
So we start having like workshops and stuff. Like, since everybody in different houses on this group, I think we should like go back to our house and like at least once a month or something have like a conversation workshop like this, like what we having, so that we all can just do better and
yes, that's what your house meeting should be.
Oh, I can bring that up to my house meeting.
That's the space for that.
Like every house meeting shouldn't be just preparing for the next ball. I mean, let me not say that. In our house, we don't want every meeting and every time we get together, it's not just to prepare for the next ball, because for us, we want to embed cultural understanding, pass on our professional skills, all that kind of stuff, like being that new, evolving, growing house. So, I mean, if that's something that you want for your house, I think you definitely should go back and have your house. Now, I also think it should be something we have more at a ballroom national level. I think ballroom has also grown so far from its original root that we do need to have some recentering conversations so that we can have an understanding of what do these categories look like in 2024. What does realness look like? Because a lot of us, depend on when you came in, where you at that time and stuff like that, you do have difference of opinions. And we haven't had like a consortium to decide, okay, what do these things mean now? How does that work in a 2024 context? And then there are people who will try to push those boundaries, you know, like for me, for instance, like with best dress, and then like even with realness and stuff like that, I've been someone who spoke out, and then next thing you know, on a flyer, you will see like executive realness, traditional versus contemporary. Because I remember I was an advocate saying, you know, I've been in corporate board spaces where ain't none of my CEOs ever showed up with no suitcase. They show up in Hawaii shorts and flip-flops and stuff like that. And the girls were like, well, that's just not what we mean by the category. I was like, well, how about having another thing? And then I saw other realness people were like, okay, fine, then we'll have, you know, traditional executive versus contemporary. So then you start to play with it. So there are ways for us to progress ballroom. Again, I think it goes back to like the elder conversation. We have to do it in a way that doesn't make people feel like they were wrong for walking it the way they did for all those years. So we don't want to show them like, you know, realness is toxic, get rid of thug realness is bad. No, but what if we did thug realness in this way too, or provided an alternative for another type of thug? Now, I ain't saying that means every day, because that goes crazy. But, you know, I think there's ways for us to progress ballroom, challenge it without it feeling like we're demonizing what it was. We're just saying, how does that look in a 2024 context? Can we provide another avenue that gives more space, right? And allows for other types of representations to now exist. Like best dress before me and a few other walkers, best dress was always men in a suit. Me and a few other walkers, we kind of pushed where it's like, no, we're going to do separates. We're going to do this. We're going to do all that. And now you have like different forms of best dress showing. But it took people pushing it without saying that the other way is just old and dated and no one wants to see it. It's like, no, we want to be an addition to. It doesn't have to be an either or. It can be an and.
I would say get rid of everyday realness, because now the everyday realness, now the femme queens want everyday realness because they don't fit in with the regular femme queens. They don't fit in with the pretty girls. They don't fit in the big girls. So they want an everyday realness category now.
But you know what?
But hold on, Kelly. Kelly, you don't feel like the girls deserve a breakdown too? Because a lot of girls are tired of being grouped up into one lump sum of film queens. You do got big girls. You got no shade. K. Maria's an executive all day long.
All day, every day.
She can walk. Like, I mean, I think the girls probably deserve that breakdown also.
You know what?
Shade. I see her with a women's suit and blazer. Like, no shade.
It's funny that you say that, because they did that at Caesar's ball. Everybody complained that realness was too long because the femme queens got a breakdown, the trans men got a breakdown. I think a lot of people have gotten so used to butch queens having a breakdown, right? They don't realize that even if you say within our category, oh, just bring it how you want to bring it, there is still, when you look at femme queen realness and you look at trans man realness, there is a overall mindset. There's an overall picture that people have when they see a femme queen. There's one mindset they have. So even if Kay is established, she walks. We know her style is executive. But you have newer girls who may give the same thing, right? If they go and walk, the judges panel already has a mindset of what femme queens in their head should look like. So if that person isn't someone who's already been walking, has created a name, that person may not get through. And the same thing happens with a lot of trans men. We do deserve the breakdowns, but then it's like the conversation of, oh, well, realness is now longer because there's a form of a breakdown.
The argument I have about everyday realness and the reason why I think they should keep it is for the same reasons that people argue against it, right? Everybody's not a thug. Everybody's not a schoolboy. Everybody's not an executive. Everybody's not those things. Everyday means just your typical brown the way person, and just because y'all have allowed y'all house members to skirt the lines of it because they couldn't make it in other categories, that you slide them over there just so you can keep them walking, that's really y'all fault. That's not really the fault of the category. A lot of things that are the problem, and a lot of things that are fucked up is because we skirt the lines and we blur the areas and we fuck it up. Not because its intent was to be fucked up. It's because we're trying to find a way to skirt around in competition, so we start blurring the lines in competition.
Right. Get an extra trophy.
I wanted to say something to what Amaya was just saying. So, and even though I gave everyone 10s all weekend, I've decided when it comes to everyday realness, if you look to me like you belong in one of the other realness lines, even if I don't think you would win over there, I'm not voting for you. Because for me, you try to take a cheap way. So, for instance, if I'm looking at everyday realness and you look like a thug, a junior thug, you're not getting my vote because you walking the wrong realness.
But what if they tried it and they didn't get through and it's just your opinion? What if they tried to walk the category and they weren't getting through? Then what?
But you don't get through. You might not get through, but that's still like if you give what we think is a stereotypical thug, and that's what you're supposed to walk, but you never grand prize, that don't mean you get to now go over to the easier lane and walk against other people so you get that easy win.
That's not how I'm saying it.
Go, Sarah. I'm sorry.
Because I think you about to say what I'm saying. Because like I said, for them, it may not be that they're walking that's not always the argument. It may not be that they're walking every day because they can't get through in their category. They may feel like that's not their category, and no one has told them this is your category, but you're not bringing it right. Are y'all having that conversation? Because I watch a lot of judges chop people, and when someone tries to get clarity on why they were chopped, they can't even get clarity because the judge is feeling to give it very much because I felt like it. So then we don't even know.
You know what, Simon? I think the problem with that, Simon, is this, and I say this a lot because I judge a lot, and people do ask me a lot of questions because I do chop more than most. It is a time and place to ask me. When we're in the middle of a ball that we can barely get through, when we barely got categories going on, we got everything, you want to stop and come up to this panel and stop the entire function to ask me. When I get up, or if I'm walking around or something, just ask me then. Don't ask me in the midst of, and then a lot of times people don't understand the intent of how you ask. If you ask me when I get up, because most of the time when you chop a person, if you're not a person who chops a lot, you can remember the 1 or 2 chops you might have did the whole half. Because you better have a conversation. But you also not gonna be getting us me. What the fuck you chopped me for? And I want to know why you chopped me.
No, we're not talking about.
But Amaya,
but a lot of times, Wait.
Let her finish.
Hold on, wait. Go ahead, man. Go ahead.
Damn.
Girl, we said go.
Okay, I got you.
Wait. Everybody keeps screaming. I don't know what the fuck.
Because I was trying to listen. Everybody was talking, so I was trying to quiet everybody down so we can hear.
Oh, I'm like, damn.
I was telling
a lot of times when people are asking you when they first get chopped, it is in an aggressive manner. I'm gonna be honest with you. Most people are not asking you in a very friendly manner once they first got chopped. Because they're already emotional and feeling some type of way because they got chopped, so they come off very negative. I'm gonna be honest. And then number 2, it's not a time we can barely get through a ball when nobody asks me questions. If every time we chop somebody, I gotta go through a dissertation about why you got chopped, we're never gonna get nothing finished. We're never gonna get anything done.
But that's not what I was saying.
Hold on, Sarah. I gotta go back to that.
Go ahead.
So, with you saying that some of the people that sit on the panel will be shady when they do the chop. So you damn right. I will be one that come up there and be like, well, why did you chop me? Because your facial expressions and all of that is very shady. So why do I feel like I have to wait?
I think a lot of times it be I'm gonna be honest. I think I'm not gonna say that it's 100% of this. What I'm about to say is 100% fact because it's not. But sometimes when people can interpret things because they're already in a negative space, right? So I might a girl next to me might have said something I ain't like. I might be looking at something across the room I didn't like. I'd get high. I might be high and be tweaking in my own head. You know what I'm saying? And so it ain't necessarily personal to you, but see, because you're already in a negative space of being chopped and not feeling accomplished in your thing, you feel like that my shade is instantly towards you. When 9 times out of 10, it might not necessarily be you. It can be a plethora of other things, but because you're already in that slightly semi-negative space of being chopped, you're like, oh, this bitch gotta be being cute towards me. When it be given, that's not me. Like me, I have a resting bitch face. I always look stern and mean. So a lot of times girls be sitting there, girls be looking at me like, oh girl, she wasn't using, or she got. And I'm like, girl, I really was just clamp, girl, and we weren't paying the fuck attention in the first place. You know what I'm saying? But people be so it's for me. I tell people, if you ask me correctly why I chopped you, and you say, hey, you know what's up? You know, was the chop warranted? What you give it? I'll give you my honest opinion very nicely. But the flow of the ball is already interrupted with so many other things that I think it's a time and place to ask those questions. You know what I'm saying? And then a lot of times when you come up asking me the question, now your house is not storming behind you, and you got 15, 20 niggas standing behind you, and all y'all pointing at me asking me why I'm chopped. Now I'm feeling the caustic, bitch, because there's too many of y'all.
Let me say this. Let me say this. I saw somebody we're talking about time and how the ball flow goes. You know, I saw somebody mention about having a 2-day ball, right? For me, I think I'm definitely not here for it. I think the issue for me is one of two things. 9 times out of 10, people that don't have the money for their ball will need to start when the crowd gets there so they can build it up. If promoters would starting their ball on time, because they came in the door with the funds for their money, people will miss their category. That is your fault because they told you that the ball started on time and you chose not to be in place.
Don't worry about that.
But hold on.
Amaya, come from behind. You don't have to look at the production chat. I'm just lining stuff up.
Oh, I put that in there already, but okay.
I don't. I took everything out, but I'm lining it up, so you don't have to look at that.
I got a point to what both of y'all just said. In this whole thing, the started in the balls. And us adding more categories. One, because I've been wanting to talk for a minute. One, I think there is room to add more categories, to be more, for girls, trans, men, and all of that. Right? That can happen if people actually start chopping at balls. Okay, y'all want to talk about people starting on time, and I can't wait to get into this on the next show. But this whole judges not chopping stuff is why the balls is taking too long. Maybe we start chopping people for the categories they supposed to be chopped. We can add a couple of more categories where they can actually get their 10 somewhere else. But the problem is people are not chopping. And on that, and Amaya was talking about that 9 times out of 10 sometimes that, it might not be that, but on that 10th time, sometimes my face might be looking fucked up, and it might be directly for you, and it was for you. And you want to know why? Because sometimes when people just come down there so out of what the category is, it's like, why did your house member not talk to you? You want to know why my face looks shady? I want to know why the fuck you on this runway.
Why the fuck your house member?
Why your effect so fucked up?